Good. Yeah, recording.
All right, so good evening, everyone. My name is Ramdas Singh. I'm the chair of the youth committee. Can everybody hear us? Okay, perfect. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:33. The first thing that we have to do is just amend the agenda. To add Housing Solutions of New York, Connections to Care, Building Resilience in Youth Programs to item agenda number 4, and discussion of fiscal year 2027 priorities to agenda item 6, moving down youth, all business, new business, and adjournment. Is there
Do we need a motion or a second?
motion? You want
Oh, yeah, motion to add those two onto the agenda.
I need a second.
Yeah. I was like, wait. All in favor? Great. All right, great. So we'll start with the first agenda item, which is welcome introductions to committee members and guests. Once again, my name is Ramdas Singh. I'm the chair of the youth committee. When you're introducing yourselves, if you can just say your name and what organization or agency you're part of, so that way we can reflect it in the minutes. Cesar, you want to go next?
Yeah. Howdy, y'all. My name is Cesar. I am the vice chair of the youth committee, and I'm also on economic development.
Hi, everyone. Kevin Wade, member of the Youth Committee and also the Public Safety Committee.
Good afternoon. My name is Juliana. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I am a C2C care coordinator for Housing Solutions of New York under Care Connections to Care programming. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Eleanor. I'm a bridge coach at the Kingsbridge Heights Community Center. I like to be up on what's going on with our community board.
Thank you both for joining us as well. The first order of business is approval of our committee minutes from November 18th. I hope everybody got a chance to look over those. Are there any discussion of the minutes?
Motion, I was going to say motion to spell my name correctly.
Oh, sorry. Oh my God. I apologize. I'll make sure that's corrected. Any other corrections?
Or just need to see how to spell Ari's name. Oh, yeah.
Autocorrect.
Yeah, I didn't know. No, that's why I'm looking at Ari's name also, because I'm like, out of names that's going to be auto-corrected, it's going to be mine and Ari's.
Apologize.
Right.
Any other corrections?
Just one correction.
Yep.
Motion to update Professor Winston. It's actually Professor Peters.
Peter.
His first name is Winston. I don't want this to go on and, like, there's no Professor Winston here.
Okay.
Winston Peters?
Yes, Peters, yeah.
Perfect. Any other corrections?
Motion to approve.
Motion seconded.
And all in favor? Great. All right. So minutes are approved. I will make sure the board office gets the corrections, and I do apologize about those minor inaccuracies. The next item is the chair's report. I'm going to make this a little brief. So first, I want to thank Cesar for holding down the fort and for you all just to continue with the work of the committee while I was absent. I was just dealing with some family situations. And I meant to mention this at the November meeting if I was in attendance. But in November, there were 3 things that were passed by the city council, which I think I wanted to just mention. The first one is there's a law, intro 0087-2024, which was passed by the city council, which requires the administration of children's services and the Department of Probation to report on juvenile justice statistics, which I will make sure when the minutes that will be linked in there, so you can go and read through the text amendment, and so on. The next thing is more education, since I'm a teacher. The city council passed a bill requiring faith-based curriculum, which is great, teaching about all religions, etc. And we have intro 1077, 2024, which is a bill. It hasn't been passed yet. It will require the Administration for Children's Services, ACS, to provide luggage to youth who are in the foster system, entering the foster care system, or exiting or transitioning between group home, individual homes, so on and so forth. Right now, the bill has, I believe, 16 co-sponsors.
Okay.
So I think you need about
Yeah.
30 to pass or to bring it up to a vote.
Yeah, there's 3 Bronx co-sponsors.
So I'll make sure we link those in the minutes.
What are the other 2 intros?
0087
Oh, 87.
and 1077.
Okay.
The next thing is the New York City Ladders for Leaders program applications now open. This program is for youth 16 to 24, and it allows participants to have a paid internship, whether it be with a community-based organization, or a corporate sponsor, or some of the other organizations that partner with New York City DYCD. One other item is kindergarten applications for all the folks who have younger kids. Applications are open, and the deadline is January 24th. And I know in an October meeting, we did talk about possibly doing a joint meeting with the Education, Libraries, and Cultural Affairs, ELCA. Sylvia and I are in conversation about trying to plan that out in the new year, and figure out what date works. Granted, we have a lot of things moving forward on the agenda, so we're trying to figure that out. And then last but not least, Theory 9, which presented at our October full board meeting.
Yes.
They're having their annual Holiday Joy Festival on Saturday, December 20th, from 6 to 9, and every child will get a toy if they RSVP at wearetheory9@gmail.com. And I'll,
Is it Saturday or the 20th?
it's the 20th, sorry.
Okay. Friday the 20th.
Friday the 20th, 6 to 9.
Okay.
I apologize.
Do we have a location?
The location is, give me 1 second. The location is, actually, they didn't send me the location. But I will get if you reach out to wearetheory9@gmail.com, the location they should get the location there. All right? Any questions about any of the chair's report? Great, so now I'm gonna turn it over.
Sorry. We already answered.
Yep.
You said 3 things are passed by city council, intro 0087.
87 and 77, and the faith-based curriculum, I'll get you the bill number.
Oh, okay.
1077 hasn't been passed yet.
Yeah.
It's just, there's 16 co-sponsors.
Okay.
Yep. All right, anything else? Perfect. Great, and now, I'll pass it over to Juliana, to talk about the housing solutions in New York. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me unmute you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to share a resource. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, Can I get access to that, please?
Sure. You should be able to share now.
Now? Oh,
No?
yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Yep, perfect. And Juliana, can you also send us over a copy of this presentation?
Definitely.
Perfect.
A lot of the information I'm just gonna skim through it. It's just more so you guys can see what our program looks like. So like I
Okay.
said, we're Connections to Care, building resilience in youth. We offer mental health education for youth between the ages of 12 to 21. We are in different tri-neighborhood areas, which I'll get into in a second. But yes, our main component is just educating on mental health, giving out stress management tips, going over the stressors that are basically impacting our youth's mental health, to be able to offer resources or services that they may need outwardly, as well as also giving them that mental health help. So we do collaborate with two other um what's that called, like medical sites basically. One of them is Sun River Health and the other one is Morris Health, Morris Heights Health, something like that. I always forget their name, but it's MHHC. And those are the two sites that we basically outsource our teams to because they're within our neighborhoods to be able to receive any therapy that they may need if they are seeking out therapy. Or just to kind of go ahead, like I said, we focus on mental health, emotional, social, and psychological well-being, specifically with our teams. Our main component is stress management. However, if we see that there is a different component that is making our teams mental health kind of deter or just really impacting their mental health, we try to navigate what it is that they're going through the stress management component. Just kind of these are more of the statistics and things like that. We saw a rise after COVID-19 in our youth kind of needing that mental health component. So that is why our program basically had started, and it's in different organizations and different spaces and places, one of them being under Housing Solutions of New York. So resilience is the ability to adapt and to recover from significant sources of stress. And that's basically what we're trying to do. Our mission and aim is with the teams. We do confidential mental health screening, trauma-informed approaches. We support in learning coping skills to manage current stress or prepare for future challenges. And we connect to care with licensed professionals as needed. So that is our mainly what we provide. So then just to kind of, I know that says 13, but it's actually 12. It's 12 to 21. And who are interested in learning more about mental health and how they can support themselves. We are, like I said, we're in different spaces. Housing Solutions of New York does primarily work with shelters and youth in shelter. However, we do branch out towards the community organizations, schools as well. We're entering in a couple of schools as of right now. So that's also something that I know interests because that's where the youth are. So this is why I wanted to show you guys our PowerPoint so you guys can see what the process looks like. We go out and have this encounter with our youths through outreach events, or if they're already in the school, just having that initial visit where we're talking about what this program does, how this program services them, and what type of resources we can offer them. At first, what we do after they give us consent is that we go ahead and conduct a PHQ and a anxiety and depression screening, just to see at what level they are at, and also to kind of level out if they would automatically need therapy or if they would just benefit from our BRICE stress management workshops. So after that evaluation, we present it to the youth again. One of our very, very big components and incentives is that we actually, after the completion of the 4-week program and the 2 evaluations that are done, they receive a $50 gift card. In schools and in CPOs, if we have the opportunity, we would kind of bring food for them so that they can feel like, these are all just incentives and they can feel welcome, they can feel engaged. We like free food and free money, all the kids too. 1 second. Then we go ahead, and if we see a need for mental health support, we will refer them out. And then we'll just, again, do the risk assessment, and because there's 2 evaluations throughout. So then they receive the stress management counseling as well as the client education. And if they need the mental health provider referral, then they would see a mental health provider as well. So just kind of to fast forward, the different people in our team, we have our senior director for grant funded programs, which is Ms. Daliana Crespo. We have our program manager, which is Maria, which is the person that reached out to you guys. And we have 2 peer coordinators, myself and my colleague, Ms. Curry. Like I said, we're in 3 different tri-neighborhood areas, number 8, number 9, and number 10. These are just some of the places we service when it comes to shelters. Now, this is the important part that people usually like to know, where we usually refer out to and who our partners are. Our partners are Sun River Health, and that usually serves tri number 8, which is Morziana and Crotona. And then we have Morris Heights Health Center, which serves tri number 9 and number 10, which is Highbridge, Concourse, Fordham, and University Heights. And we're continuing to branch out. So that is it for our program.
Sure. Well, Juliana, thank you so much for presenting on, the great work that Housing Solutions New York are doing and the BRY program. I want to open up to some questions if folks have any. Kevin, Cesar, you have any questions?
I can definitely also, with the PowerPoint, send over some flyers. Well, my boss, Maria, will do that because I think Maria has your email.
Yeah.
So some flyers and a trifold that we have with all of this information as well.
Perfect. I know you mentioned that the Housing Solutions are going to expand. Are there any community-based organizations or schools within Riverdale, Kingsbridge, or Van Cortlandt Village, Marble Hill that you are looking to expand to, or is that a work in progress?
That's a work in progress at the moment, yeah.
Okay.
The program unfortunately had its downfall, and not many people, they didn't really have staff. So we're just running up again right now and trying to get that ball rolling. We are in a couple of schools in I want to say around Fordham right now. One of them is Kappa. There's another one in it's called New Directions. There's a middle school that we're entering at the moment. So we're just trying to get the word out, which is why we've been attending a lot of our community board meetings, and just kind of getting the word out there because our youth need it.
Yeah, and my next question, I know you said you all lead like stress management workshops. Is that just for folks that are that you do intake with, or do you partner with, let's say if I'm part of a community-based organization and I want to lead a session on stress management, could we offer or send your contact out to those people to partner to lead some kind of that workshop?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Any questions?
Or just on the expansion side, that as you're all in Kappa and going into a middle school, what does like that criterion of partnering with the school look like and organizations look like on y'all's side?
Not much. We're just trying to get into schools. We usually go with the social workers because the social workers would know who would benefit more, or the counselors who would benefit more from this program. Um, then if it's like cost worries, we always tell the schools like we're at no cost. If anything, we're just trying to get the word out to the young peoples. We do things like parent workshops as well, because the parents are a very big component to it as well, since we're dealing with the young people. But yeah, there's not much of a criteria. The only thing would be just it would have to be within our neighborhoods. That's about it.
Juliana, just, related to the cost, so if a youth member is referred and takes the referral to the medical practitioners, is there a cost involved, or do they need insurance, or how does that look?
So right now, I'm not too well versed. The only thing that I do know about is insurance. I would have to get back to you guys with that one. Like I said, I'm actually relatively new to my position as well. So that part where we've just started that connection of getting to like meet the people in these places. I wouldn't know too much about um the not no insurance situation, for example. If there's a costly situation, I just know that's the insurance aspect of it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other
That's a great question.
And I see that we're joined by Constance Barnes Watson, who is another community board 8 member. Constance, do you have any questions?
No,
For
that was
Juliana?
great information. Nope.
Perfect. Any last questions? Any guests have any questions for Juliana, Eleanor, or Shiomara?
No, that was a great presentation.
Hi, this is Xiomara. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
Good, good. I'm just very interested in this program. I would like to bring it to the community at Humanities. So
Right.
I will definitely be reaching out so we can try to work something out to bring this program in so the parents could receive a workshop and all the information about the services that you guys offer.
Definitely.
And
I look forward to hearing from you.
Shiomara will make sure the board office gets you the contact information as well.
Okay,
For
great.
this program. Okay?
Thank you.
And thank you for joining, and thank you for opening up your school community to for the REAP workshop.
Okay, yeah. We had Julie there for the paint and sip last month.
Yeah, no, thank you all so much.
Okay.
Julianne, is there any last?
One last thing.
One last question. Sorry.
Can you just repeat which tree, you said you were in 8, 9, 10 for the tree?
I'm sorry?
You had mentioned the limitations are your catchment areas are within your specific like tree.
Oh, yeah.
So
So our
just wanted to
catchment
reiterate.
areas are the Tri-8, Tri-9, and Tri-10. If the young person is with like, let's say it's just one zip code away, or the school is within the catchment area, it should be fine. It shouldn't be an issue. We always try to go around that, but that's usually our criteria. So long as they're from the Bronx, we can work with them. Like our priority is the Bronx.
That brings me to one last question. So let's say if a student is in Manhattan, in a high school in Manhattan or Brooklyn or Queens, but they're residents of like the Bronx. Can they come see your services?
Definitely, since their
Okay.
zip code would show the Bronx, we would just work with that zip code. However, if they're residing in Manhattan and going to school in Manhattan, I wouldn't be able to service them. So like let's say they were residing in Manhattan, but they come to school in the Bronx, then I would still be able to work with them because they have that component of being in the Bronx. However, like I said, if it's like both zip codes, school and residency is outside of the Bronx, then unfortunately I wouldn't be able to offer them resources. I would have to like branch out and say, hey, but this is another resource that you can use.
Perfect. Let me just repeat that to make sure we're clear. Student is enrolled in a school in Manhattan but live in the Bronx, they can come to you. If a student is enrolled in a school in the Bronx but lives in an outer borough, they can still come to you, as long there is like some Bronx component.
As
Okay,
long as
gotcha.
there's some Bronx component, we're good. We're good to go.
Gotcha. I just want to make sure we have that correct for the minutes when we send it up.
Of
All
course.
right?
Thank you.
Any last questions? Thank you so much, Juliana, and we'll be on the lookout for the materials, that way we can share it out. Make sure, everyone on our listserv who can get the information, especially our contacts with the schools in our area, definitely make sure they get it as well, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
You're free to stay on, but it's not necessary, if you don't want, but thank you so much, and, happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Thank you all.
Perfect. So the next item on our agenda is, so we have the Comeback Kid Achievement Award. Every year, this is one of the awards that the community board gives, and it's kind of the responsibility of the youth committee. And what you have in front of you is the nomination form that we usually send out. And I think I sent it via email as well.
Yes.
Just so you had enough time to look over it. So essentially, this will be sent out. People will be able to access the application, fill it out, nominate, whoever, a student or youth from the age 13 to 23, as long as their birthday hasn't been 24 yet, get to nominate them, and then sometime in February, we will then begin to look over nominations, February, March. And then typically the last board meeting of the year, we invite the awardees to come to our last meeting, and that's when we give the certificate. We did it in September this year because the two awardees were not available in June.
Okay.
But you got to see the awardee part of it. I guess my first question is, do we want to keep the name of Comeback Kid Achievement Award, or do we want to change it? It has been changed. It used to be, the Comeback Kid Award, I believe, but they added the achievement part in there. Or do we want to keep the name for now, and then in the future change it?
I lean towards keep it and think about something, maybe, if there even is a need to change it. I think it fits. I mean, it fits the criteria that we're looking at, someone that overcame something like the comeback kid. I think that's a catchy phrase, but we can always think about if we want to adjust it later instead of, feel like we need to now.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I know that because I was at the meeting where LRE actually brought this up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the day we had our full board meeting in this room. And, I know they raised the point of it being called a Comeback Kid Award, with the view of this theory should be promoting excellence.
Okay.
And, truly that going above and beyond, and limiting it on the statement of Comeback Kid.
Coming back from something, right?
Yeah, so that raises a question for folks, if you are just hey, I'm always doing excellence, what do you get then?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to come back from stuff because this is what I've been doing for the last several years.
Right.
And I'm also gonna talk from experience, knowing both of the students. And knowing one of them very well, it's like, it is that, like, narrative arc progression of, like, there has been growth in folks.
Right.
And it's like seeing that growth emphasized and highlighted is also something because of the fact that, like, you also don't want to tell kids, like, hey, you can't get stuff unless you're always perfect. Eleanor has a hand raised. Also granted that both awardees were from KCC.
Right. Yeah, I do wanna, I think, give me one second, Eleanor. I think, so me working in the school, we always, oh, not my school, because we've changed it, but typically schools, it's kind of like merit, of like highest grade for social studies, English, history, math, so on and so forth. And I like the idea of awarding someone who is from the community but has overcome obstacles. So I am a little bit uneasy with adding the word excellence in the name, because it screams merit, to me. And I know, like, I teach students with disabilities, and sometimes, like, I can see, like, maybe some of my kids would not apply to something if it says, like, anything to do with, like, merit or excellence. But, like, something like this, I think, because they're always overcoming obstacles every single day.
Of course.
You know, so, like, that's why I'm a little bit uneasy about adding excellence to it. But obviously it's up to the committee. And
Sorry, I was not trying to be like, they're trying to add excellence anywhere in the name, nor am I ever. Their statement is like the award itself, as you're saying, should be like that merit, like always excellence. Which I'm just highlighting that is not my stance.
Eleanor, sorry, and you had your, sorry, go ahead.
I think the Comeback Kid Award, our community obviously has a lot of kids who get the Comeback Kid Award, so I have a attachment to it, but the community board already has an award for leadership and excellence, the Yankee Leadership Award that they're affiliated with. And I think the Comeback Kid Award has a particular, because it is an award for kids who have gone through adversity, it allows people in the community to award kids who don't necessarily get those awards all the time, like you were talking about. I apologize, they're making an announcement. It allows kids who don't necessarily always get the recognition that they deserve for overcoming hard things, a chance to shine in those moments, which I think is really important. Some kids are going to get lots of awards because of their academic merit, because of their sports scholarships, and some kids don't have that opportunity. So having the Comeback Kid Award, and it allows for people to highlight kids who have become leaders through adversity and that have made connections with their community.
Thank you.
That's well said. May I?
Yeah.
And I was just gonna comment that being here for that award ceremony, the first one that I've seen, obviously, it was actually pretty nice to see even their reactions, like I was doing something here, now I'm doing something here, and it was like a real joy. And I think also, just lastly, adding achievement in here, like you got, like we did, just amplifies that. Like, not only did you come back, but you achieved something. So I think it's kind of good as is, honestly. That's where I stand.
So it looks like we're keeping the name in. That's what it sounds like. Great.
I was also going to just say on the merit-based side, like, your achievements do not, like, there's also emphasizing, like, achievement isn't just a merit-based system. Not all achievements are academic, all achievements are sport.
Exactly. Okay.
So look at its eligibility. It does say, the Comeback Kid Achievement Award is for any young person who is at least 13 years of age and has not yet, wait, there's a typo there, or is it just cut off? Has not yet had their 24th birthday. Participants may register when they're 12 and a half years old. All goals must be completed by their 24th birthday. any young person under the age of 12 and a half does not qualify for the award. Do we want to keep that the same? Is there any changes?
You said 12 and a half?
12 and a half.
Oh, is that what that space is supposed to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, just for clarification, so they can register at 12 and a half, but they're gonna be 13, basically?
Yeah, so if their birthday is within the, like, the community board year, I guess.
Okay.
Like from September to June, or they're turning 13 by the end of like December. Yeah.
So, okay, I got you.
The 12 and a half would be like, they have to be at their midpoint, like their half birthday for that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
So we're good with the eligibility?
Yes.
Alright, so it looks like we're keeping that the same. And, just flip to the last page. Here are like all the documentation has to come with it, once it's submitted. Obviously, we have to have the contact information, nominee resume, their signature, questions answered, that's how you've overcome, the nominee's narrative and rationale for the nominees demonstrated success in overcoming challenges, and, letter of support provided from like a school, a teacher, a coach, a program provider, anyone, a parent, anybody can nominate or provide a letter of support. Then the committee reviews it, and then we award up to 4 awardees of the year. How do we feel about the requirements?
When I looked at it, it looked fine to me. I guess, just because you have more knowledge on it, is 4 awardees, is that the right number, you think, or?
Typically we do 4.
Yeah, okay.
Last year we did 2, but also that, once again, I think it's just that we didn't have enough applications.
Okay.
But then, getting the word out is gonna be like our thing, to make sure that we have enough nominees to then pick 4.
Okay.
Yep, alright,
Yeah, so like the 4 nominees seem correct.
so you were on the committee last year too?
No, I was
Weren't
not on you, but I was there when we did when they do the vote for
Mhm.
this. Question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel that when all of them come from the same organization and same set of recommenders?
This will be something I have to bring back. I have to bring back to Julie and Dr. Julia, as well as like how do they overcome having a lot of nominees from like the same organization. I did see in the notes from last year that they did say like it is open to all school libraries, not just community centers. So I think this will just be us having to, promote it a little bit more, like send it out, make sure our schools know.
Yeah.
In the area, make sure, like, let's say you're a program director of a library, and you have a kid who's coming to the game club every session. You will be able to nominate somebody, for instance. I just think, I guess I'll have to check, double check on that.
Yeah, like, it's not ultimately like nominees,
Mhm.
it's like, at the end of the day, it's like when all the awardees are coming from the same
Right.
location.
Right. How do we, any other questions about, like, the nomination process?
Does it have to be handwritten?
Yeah. Welcome to New York City government.
I am saying this because also looking at the nominations from last year, it's hard to read.
I know.
Yeah, like literally just from like, trying to understand what people are saying, like,
Right.
writing
I mean,
for folks.
I guess this will be a question I can ask Farah, because definitely in favor of like digital things.
Yeah.
As much, I say this as the chair of this committee, as much less paper I can kill or trees I can kill, the better, but I also know like sometimes it's out of my control.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely bring it up to Farah, and see if there's a possibility to do a digital form. Because I do understand that, you know, there is also a requirement to have a signature, so I don't know how, you know, like, how,
How that will work out.
right, if it's just a digital signature or,
Yeah. We can figure that out, I mean, I agree, obviously, not only from the handwriting perspective, but we might get more participation as well.
right,
If you can
of
just-
course. All right, so let's talk timetable. So,
For this.
yeah, so typically, the committee is formed in January, which we're a small and mighty committee, so everybody on here is kind of gonna automatically be folded into it. And we typically, last year, this was the timetable, January 15th, the application opened. And then there was an application deadline on March 15th. It allowed, the committee to start looking them over in March, April. And then, folks would have been presented their award in June. So how do we feel about that timetable?
I'm just question filled right now.
Yeah, of
So,
course, of course.
as we kind of just spoke about with the holiday, is that, do we have to be, quote unquote, having a meeting in that January okay, so then it doesn't matter.
Oh, I forgot to mention that in my chair's report, there's no January meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so if that doesn't affect starting it in January, then I have no,
It will just mean like the application will be up and live, and people are gonna like be able to start going in and like nominating folks. Yeah,
I think the timeline works pretty well.
I'm just looking at seeing if there's any big holidays on either end.
I think the only big holidays would be the spring holidays, which is Easter, Holy, Passover,
Yep. We're good.
Good Friday.
Oh, we're going to January then, for March then, because those are not in March.
Right, they're all in April.
Yeah. That wants to do it double.
I think Holy is in March, if I'm not mistaken. And,
March 14th.
yeah. So so I guess we're keeping essentially a lot of the things, and I think moving forward, I guess we're, at the full board meeting, they're talking about continuity, and I guess this just makes sense, like, we clearly are keeping the same thing.
Yeah.
Question.
Uh-huh.
Because I know you had you've mentioned, like, for this committee, and I know for some of the other awards, like, there are ad hoc committees get made for it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any possibility of adding folks to, like, especially as we do, like, reviews and stuff?
I have to double check. I don't remember. I think this was just done by you. This is not like the Irving Lattimore Award.
Yeah,
That was a ad hoc committee.
yeah,
But I believe this one was done by the youth committee specifically, because
yeah.
essentially creating ad hoc committee for the award meant all the youth members were now on like on another, but let me double check. I haven't been part of youth for a while.
Yeah, no, I was asking if that was thing,
Right,
but also, like, it's not necessarily a component.
right. I mean, yeah, so I'll have to double check, and let me double check and make sure, I guess we have to decide. I mean, if it's us four and, us three and Karen, that's gonna be on the committee, I think it just makes sense to do it here at our youth committee rather than do another committee meeting,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I'm all for less meetings.
Oh, can we actually change this word count?
Which one?
Oh, wait, no, sorry, that's the nominators, sorry.
Yeah.
That was the nominee.
Yeah, that's a nominator, word
Yeah.
count.
Yes, right, that was the nominee, so that was about to, that's.
And,
Yeah,
are we also okay with self-nominating? Like, can somebody self-nominate themselves?
I do, yeah.
So yeah, I guess a lot of the things remain the same.
sorry, I do not.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about self-nominating. Like, it's always one of those things, because that's like, how do you define achievement? And it's like, to be able to find, like, in these cases, someone should be able to talk about you. I think that just questions then, it's like, who's allowed to nominate,
Mm.
period.
So I think that's a good point, but the self-nominate, they still have to have a letter of support from somebody.
Okay.
They can nominate themselves, but they still have to provide, like, a coach or a teacher or
Okay, yeah.
like a recommendation letter,
Exactly.
you know?
Okay, no, that's fine then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any last things about the lovely Comeback Kid Achievement Award? All right, so I'm gonna work on getting,
Was it like much later last year?
yeah, I think the deadline was supposed to be in March, but there were a lot of things that happened on youth.
Okay.
I think March is a good amount of time, so it allows us to, like, review them. 'Cause I'm a type of person, I'm not gonna do things last minute.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else about the Comeback Kid Achievement Award? No? All right, so I'll I'll make sure I have the answers to that, and I'll just send y'all a quick email, like, hey, this is what
Yeah.
was mentioned. All right, next thing is discussion of fiscal year 2027 priorities. Obviously, we don't need to know what we're gonna put. I just wanna just add that with a caveat. It's just to get us thinking about, you know, things that the youth committee may wanna put up, as their, budget request. Typically, so there's a difference between expense and capital. Capital is like more for infrastructure, like a building, a school, you need to repair the bathroom, the swing set at a park,
Yeah, anything that also like
Right.
actually
Right.
programmatics.
So expense tends to be programmatic, like
Okay.
staff, personnel, investing money in like this program.
Sure.
So thanks to Artie. Artie put both the 2025 one and the 2026 budget request together, just to give us an idea of the last 2 years, what this committee has requested. So in fiscal year 25, the first, budget request was on sustaining and expanding summer youth summer youth employment program, or SYEP. And then the second, was job programs for young adults. The youth committee asked that DYCD commits funding to expanding both current and new job programs to young adults. I think at that time, if I'm mistaken, I think there were gonna be funding decreases for DYCD. So I think the board wanted to make sure that SYEP stayed. This committee and then the board. So last 26, which we're already in, fiscal year 26 is, we have here again SYEP. That's number 1. Number 2 is job programs for young adults. This is the one we edited, the language, just to make it a little more, general and vague. And then the third one was expanding programs to combat hate crimes and bullying. The youth committee acts, the DYCD commits funding to expand programs to combat hate crimes and bullying to protect young people's overall health. And this one we also edited the language, to clean it up at the beginning in September.
Yes.
So essentially, fiscal year 24 to 25, we had 2. Fiscal year 25 to 26, we had 3. And number 3 was a new request for the year, 26.
I'm sorry, I'm just backtrack a
Mhm.
little bit.
Yep.
So fiscal year 26 starts next year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are making our case for not next year's, but like starting July 1st of 2026.
Right, so we start the process of thinking, so right now we have our budget chair already submitted our FY 26 request to to Office of Management, OMB. What does the B stand for?
Business management?
Yeah, the OMB, Office of Budget and Management.
Okay.
OB, yeah. And essentially what we're talking about now is starting to talk or discuss some of the things we want to see for our fiscal year 25 list, which then is a process because if you notice, we just adopted FY 26's budget request, what was it, the October full board meeting? So essentially it's a year-long process.
Mm-hmm.
Like refining them, ranking them. So the earlier we start, the better it is for the process. So essentially we just wanted to look at what we've done in the past couple years. Any questions, comments? No. I think just for continuity, I think SYEP should stay on there, but also like looking at what I think SYEP should probably just stay on there, just to ensure that the funding is always there. And I know from our guest speaker in September, they're looking to expand SYEP every year. They've grown it, with more people participating. So, and there's a demand there, because I know, like, my kids already asking about SYEP, and I'm like, it is December.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know they're already starting to get, like, their working cards, they're making sure their parents make their appointments to get their working papers, so I know they're already starting to think about it, and I can just talk about the school I work in, but I can imagine kids all already started thinking like, oh, this is something I want to participate in this year. So.
Yeah, I would agree with you just to keep it on, especially if it was, is that the one that you said was at risk, or that was the second one,
I think it was the first one.
That's why, so definitely, we wanna keep that on there.
At one point, there were talks about like cutting it, slashing it
Mm-hmm.
by half, I believe.
Wow.
But obviously the budget process, the mayor proposes their budget, and then the city council negotiates that, and then they both come to like an agreement. So, whatever the mayor proposes, and if it doesn't, align with our committee, especially what we're looking for DYCD, then we go to our 3 council members, Sanchez, Dinowitz, and De La Rosa,
Yeah.
and like, hey, y'all need to make sure DYCD gets money for SYEP.
Gotcha.
Right, any last things?
Has youth ever submitted a capital budget request?
I was actually thinking about this today, and I was thinking about I was trying to figure in my head how would this work, because typically the youth programming are actually housed either in a community-based organization or in like a nature development.
Okay.
And I know, because I was on the Parks Committee, KHCC is actually on parkland. It's a park,
There's a park building, their
yeah.
roof's collapsing, a whole bunch of.
So that itself would be, like, we've put it on our budget request last year for parks, because it is parks property.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm wondering, like, how this would work, because, you know, capital-wise, because these programs are housed in, like, if it's a nature development, that would be a housing, you know, request. It's,
My brain is like, what, or is like, I'm gonna use the other example of like, so much of this stuff revolving around parks, my brain is like, who are some of the main purveyors and users of these parks? It is youth. It is youth that need a third space, and therefore, like, if we can advocate for it, in addition to like, hey, the parks committees are saying this, but also the youth committees are saying this, because of the fact that, like, it's not just we want to preserve the parks, it's the fact that, like, you want youth to be able to have a third space, which comes in the form of, like, the CBOs and the actual parks themselves, or for some of the schools, it looks like if schools are falling apart.
Yeah.
right, I mean,
Like, that's always a weird thing of, like,
yeah.
it's like joints.
So schools, if schools, those fall under typically capital,
Yeah.
like if we want a bathroom repaired, or like an auditorium, or a gym fixed, or something, that's typically capital. And obviously, I know youth can overlap with parks, it can overlap with education, but I think for us, it makes sense just to do programming, instead of like capital, because then we get into like the weeds of like having to then talk to 3 different other committees. And also city agencies get very territorial, I would say. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I would say on that topic. But anything else? So it looks like SYP is gonna be on there again, and we'll decide for if we wanna do, you know, any other.
3 is like gonna be the hardest one, because at some point we gotta see how it worked.
Yeah.
First, to be like, hey, like, yeah, like, it sounds good, and then when we get the funding and see how it works, it's like, okay, how did this work? As opposed to us being like, hey, in several years, you get more money again, as opposed to.
Right. And I know if and for speaking of 3, because I've taught here at 141 at RKA, the council member, Eric Dinowitz, did sponsor at that time when I don't know if he still does it, at that time he did sponsor, which, that's how I met Farah again. Farah was actually the person who came into my class.
Oh, wow.
And did like, through the museum, what am I blanking? It was like a hate crime, fighting against hate workshop for our seniors and juniors. This was like 2 years ago. But, you know, obviously, like, I meant to mention this too, is our council members also see our list, and they can also allocate funds, their discretionary funds. They're like, like, you know, I think it's time 368 gets a track field.
Okay.
So like our council members also look at this, our borough president looks at this, and they can definitely pull things and fund. Because I know Bailey Playground has been on our capital, our list for about how many, like 10-ish years. And now they're starting to get the ball rolling of like, you know, exploring the funding and all this other stuff. And I live right there, so.
Yeah.
That's a fun, enjoying project.
Any last thing about this before we move on? All right, moving on. So youth handbook, I think we don't have to discuss it now. I just need to know like the different parts, so I can set it up. I'm thinking we all have a Gmail account. We can all collaborate on a Google Doc for now. We're not meeting in January, so I think, you know, when I set it up and structure it, we can always go in and like add things and then like clean it up asynchronously. So I know that the categories were, education, right?
Yeah, we just saw you. So categories that we looked into was education, special needs, and legal services. That's some of the possible ones we mentioned last time.
Education, legal services, and, special needs.
Yeah.
All right, okay, so, so like education would be what exactly? Education programming?
Yeah, like, I don't know, financial aid was one thing we talked about. There's resources on, you know, even getting into high schools and things like that. Those are the two that I remember specifically, but things like that.
Okay. And legal services would be,
Yeah, no, that was one of them.
Yeah, that was Karen's, like, bread and butter.
Because in fact, like, that's a lot of the work that she
Okay,
works
so-
around, is just like how
I
we
guess-
provide, like, legal services plus a mix of like know your rights
okay,
Yeah.
in it as well.
okay. So I'll make, no, you're right, like, cause I remember when I was in high school, cause I went to school in the Kennedy campus, so one of the small schools, I remember at the time, there was, a big push about, and this was 2007 to 2011. At the time, it was, I think this was by SBU, actually. Funny story.
Yeah.
It was about knowing your rights with your school safety agents.
Okay.
And we were given like a, you know, palm card type situation of like, know your rights. So that made me think of that. Special needs, this is my lovely, my lovely ballpark field, so I already have, you know, obviously I think it can be like vocational program, like advocacy organizations, it could be, supporting organizations, like
Mhm.
things you can reach out to if, like, I don't know, you need, help with a student on the spectrum, or like your child on the spectrum, or, you need, speech and,
Yeah.
speech and language support.
Yeah, like, obviously, there are gonna be like
Right.
huge overlaps
Right,
between
of
both
course.
ways regarding like stuff around like IEPs, what
Right.
happens if you're, literally speaking
Right.
from experience, happens when your kid
Right.
has a tantrum and they call the police
Right.
on your child in school.
Right.
So like, and honestly, it's like, there's big things, it's like, some organizations are gonna be in most, if not all categories, including KHCC, who,
Mhm. Right.
in all of these.
Right, so I think it makes sense to do these three, and then we can figure out if there needs to be like different branches, if like we just put, you know, how we rework it. I think it makes sense to start here. So what I'll do is I'll share a Google Doc, and we can start plugging in things. I think, our February meeting will just have the youth handbook there, just to see like where we're at, like an update. But it doesn't necessarily mean like we're like planning it out. So I think this is something we can work on, you know,
Yeah.
not here at a meeting, or we can do it asynchronously.
Yeah.
Any last thing about youth handbook? So I'll create this and share it with you all, and, you know, go from there. Any old business, that we have to go over?
Well, I guess, the spring fair,
Right.
I think the outstanding or action item was, figuring out the numbers that we're looking at to have people,
Okay.
have youth, attend, so that we can kind of plan space for that.
If Constance is still here, can we ask her question?
Oh, is that about the event?
Proposed fair, I guess.
Yeah, because I know they have their events also in the spring.
Right.
I was just seeing like, what is their size that they're looking at?
Right. Constance, quick question. The event that you all are putting together, what is the approximate guest size? She might have stepped away.
Yeah.
I mean, we can hold off on the spring fair too. We don't have to.
Yeah.
We can, you know, we don't, if, we can, if, because they just moved theirs to spring instead of having it in the winter.
Okay.
So this could be something that could be tabled. That doesn't necessarily mean like we have to do it, you
Yeah.
know? This could be something that we pull from our lovely handbook of reaching out to folks and like, come table and give things, you
Yeah.
know, give information out. So it's, you know, that's, because I'm thinking like strategically of like a joint meeting with ECLA, then so that will be like one of, because technically we can do it in June. That's our final full board meeting. And typically, the board meeting in June is typically earlier because of the Philharmonic every year. The Van Cortlandt Park Philharmonic
Oh, okay.
concert, it's usually that, or it's usually later, I don't remember. So then that pushes a lot of the committees not to meet in June.
I see, okay.
So then typically it would be like our May would be maybe our last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to meet in June, we'll try to make it work.
Yeah.
So we'll have one joint meeting in the spring, which then that's either February, March, or April. Actually it should be February or April, now that I think of it, because the March meeting would have to be us reviewing applications, or April will be reviewing applications.
Yeah, and there's no real urgency for this particular idea, so tabling it makes sense, and I'm all for that.
Right. I'm just thinking of like, I don't want to burn this up,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, this is like something we can, assuming I'm youth chair again, or if I do decide to run again,
Yeah.
this is something like, could be explored, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, any new business?
No.
Eleanor, any upcoming events at KCC that you want us to share?
Not right now. The events that we're planning right now are for our alumni or our current participants.
Okay. Gotcha, and I know Shiamata, y'all about to go on break, so. But are there any events coming up in January that you want us to, send out or share? She stepped away too. No, okay. Any new business from us? No, no, good. All right, and adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So meeting adjourned at 7:43 PM. Thank you all for joining today. I want to wish you all a happy holidays and a happy New Year. Just for our guests to know, there will be no youth committee meeting in January. So we will see you all in February, all right? Happy New Year and
Yeah.
see you all
Happy New Year.
soon.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah.
Holidays.